afternoon, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Now live at 4 on this Thursday afternoon. Nice February day out there.
I actually think today is worse than yesterday.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I took the dogs out for a walk this morning. Lola, nope, not doing it.
No, it's cold and windy and icy.
Yeah.
It'll change. We'll get through it. We'll all get through it.
You know, only in Wisconsin do they cancel the tornado drill because of a blizzard and flooding.
That's true. That's very true.
That's where we stand.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's what's making news on this Thursday. That massive storm that brought us snow, rain, and winds affected much of the Midwest. Amy Reed will have a live report on power outages in the area.
A Reedsburg mother is going to prison for the death of her 15-year-old son who died during a religious fast.
And the founder of WikiLeaks has been arrested in London with what he now faces in the United States.
Let's take a look outside today. It was cloudy and windy, but see,
there's hope.
Here's signs of hope, right?
Tulips, I think, right?
Very pretty.
Eventually. The weather word's still watching the skies. There's a threat of severe weather out there. Dave Caulfield's in the backyard, umbrella up. Nothing severe, though.
Yeah, nothing right now, which is good. The warm front didn't quite make it to southern Wisconsin today, which really kept our threat of severe weather down for much of the afternoon, and we could say the same for this evening. However, still a strong thunderstorm or two not out of the question. On Doppler track right now, we are seeing a little bit of everything still. We have some sleet mixing in with that rain closer to the Dells across Sauk and Columbia counties, some light to moderate showers with a few downpours closer to Madison, and again, a few rumbles of thunder not out of the question as we head into later this evening. So we're still watching, but I do think that severe threat will exist farther south than we really need to worry about too much. Live look at Madison on the WISC-TV Skycam at the clouds and the rain showers. Temperatures are in the mid-30s, so we've moved up a few degrees in Madison. 45 in Janesville. You could really see where that warm front is. In Indianapolis, it was 80 degrees last hour, so you don't really need to go that far to find those warmer temperatures, but also to find that severe weather threat. Wind speeds, they are gusty still out of the east at about 15 to 25 miles per hour, gusting now closer to 30 to 40 miles per hour across portions of southern Wisconsin. And with that wind, it feels like winter outside. Feels like the upper 20s in Madison, close to the teens in Camp Douglas. So your day planner for the next couple of hours, chance of showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, isolated thunderstorms possible with temperatures staying in the mid to upper 30s. So let's take a look at your first alert traffic update. Gammon Road and the Beltline, that's not looking too bad in either direction right now. The roads are wet, but that is about it. Now, if you are heading north of the Wisconsin Dells, there are still some icy spots, some slippery spots out there across southern Wisconsin, but no accidents or incidents to report right now across Dane County, which is the good news. Still some brake lights on the Beltline, as you might expect for this time of the afternoon, but not looking too bad overall. Eastbound Verona Road to John Nolan, that's 5 minutes with an average speed of around 50 miles per hour. And some other routes in and around Madison, downtown to Sun Prairie, that'll cost you 16 minutes on 151, average speed around 35 miles per hour. And that is your first alert traffic update. We will talk about if the wind will ever subside and calm down as we head into this weekend in your first alert forecast.
But all things considered, southern Wisconsin, we got away kind of easy on this one.
Yeah, believe it or not, I mean, it doesn't seem like it sometimes when you step outside, but spots like the Dakotas into Minnesota really got hit hard with this.
Yeah, they did. All right, Dave, we'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you, Dave. As Dave was just mentioning, high winds have caused big problems today. Power outages have hit thousands.
That's all thanks to those winds that we are seeing. Amy Reed joins us live from Windsor, where crews just wrapped up fixing a power line. Amy?
Right, it's pretty windy out here. If you can't tell from my hair, maybe the shaky camera, I brought out this extra jacket to show you just how much this is blowing out here. And that's a real pain for the power lines behind me. We just caught up with a crew from Alliant Energy that was fixing one of the lines that had been damaged by the winds. They said this was keeping them pretty busy today, but it wasn't the worst they had seen. There have been isolated outages throughout our area. One in Middleton delayed school about 3 hours. Another in Rock County wiped out power for as many as 10,000 at one point. And it took workers about 3 hours to get that one all wrapped up. Now, all of these outages are being blamed on this wind. And if that continues, energy companies told me that they're prepared to send crews out throughout the night to get that power restored. Back to you.
Amy Reed reporting live in Windsor. Thank you.
Amy, thank you. We're not alone dealing with the return of winter in April. The second massive winter storm in less than a month is blasting up to 17 million people across the Midwest. Heavy snow has shut down major highways, grounded flights, and stranded travelers. South Dakota transportation officials shut down hundreds of miles of interstate and issued travel advisories.
It's been tossed around like a paper plate in a snowstorm out there.
Crews rushed ahead of the storm at Denver International Airport, but more than 750 flights were canceled. The blizzard barreled into Kansas overnight. A UPS truck careened off a highway overpass, but the driver emerged unhurt.
An ambulance on an emergency call slipped on icy roads in Sauk County this morning and overturned. The Sauk Prairie ambulance was on Highway 78 near Prairie du Sac when it slid across the road, hit soft gravel, and ended up on its side. The 3 crew members suffered non-life-threatening injuries. They were taken to the hospital for treatment. The 2 in the front were wearing their seatbelts. The crew member in the back was not. In Rock County, a car crashed into a daycare center in Janesville this afternoon. There were 15 adults and 28 kids in the building at the time when the car came through a wall. One youngster was taking a nap about 2 feet from where the car stopped. One child suffered a slight abrasion to the head, while another had minor bruising. The parents took both to the hospital to get them checked out. Police say it appears the driver accidentally pressed on the gas pedal instead of the brake.
The mother of the 15-year-old Reedsburg boy who died last September during a 40-day religious fast has been sentenced to 6 years in prison. Titiyayo Omosebi appeared in Sauk County this afternoon in a courtroom there. Her attorney said while the consequences of the fast are tragic, she never intended to lose her child. As a result, he originally asked for his client to only serve probation, citing cultural differences in trying to understand this complex case of child neglect. Omosebi told her attorney her concern now is for the well-being of her surviving son.
She is, of course, very upset and remorseful for her son, and that's where her focus is. Her focus is not on her sentence. Her focus is on her family.
Her surviving son is staying with a foster family. They told Omosebi's attorney that he has forgiven his mother, but has not forgotten what he went through. Jamie Perez will join us live with more on this case tonight at 5 and 6. Madison's new incoming mayor, Satya Rhodes Conway, will be sworn in next week.
Today, we asked her about funding for fire services and EMS crews. Rose Schmidt tells us what you can expect to see, Rose.
Yes, well, fire response times has been a growing issue in Madison, especially on the far east side, which Alder Michael Tierney represents. He tells me there are neighborhoods with up to 20-minute response times, and that's why he's hoping for more ambulances. Speaking to reporters at a West Side Fire District today, Mayor-elect Rhodes Conway says she anticipates the Madison Fire Department asking for at least an additional ambulance. Next Wednesday, her office will release a letter with budget instructions for departments like fire and police. She could not offer specifics to me about whether those departments will get additional funding, says she'll wait and see what they ask for. She sat down with firefighters and medical crews for lunch at Station 7 this afternoon.
One thing that struck me was the percentage of medical calls that they go on as opposed to fires. And the work that they're doing to get folks who maybe don't have a medical home or insurance to get them better connected to the services they need so that they're not calling 911 all the time.
The mayor-elect is asking city departments like police and fire to describe how their goals align with Imagine Madison. That's the city's comprehensive plan. And change is coming all around to the Madison Common Council, not just with a new mayor, but 9 new council members.
Thank you, Rose.
Police in Louisiana have announced a major break in the case of a string of suspicious fires that targeted historic black churches. Police charged 21-year-old Holden Matthews, a white man, with 3 counts of simple arson after fires heavily damaged 3 historically black churches in southern Louisiana. The arrest comes just days before the start of Holy Week.
I don't know what was in his heart, but I can say it cannot be justified or rationalized. These were evil acts.
Investigators have uncovered is that Matthews had offered, through suggestions and connections, a relationship with a type of music called black metal and its association in history with church burnings.
Matthew's own father is a deputy sheriff. Records show the suspect lived in St. Landry Parish, that's near Baton Rouge, where the fires were set just a few miles apart over 10 days. Fortunately, no one was injured.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was arrested in London. The Ecuadorian embassy that had sheltered him for 7 years kicked him out. As Ian Lee reports, Assange faces extradition to the United States to face charges.
Julian Assange was dragged from the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Disheveled and transformed with a thick beard, the 47-year-old WikiLeaks founder shouted, "The UK must resist."
They must resist.
London police made the arrest after Ecuador withdrew Assange's asylum status. Once in custody, he was hit with an indictment from the U.S. Justice Department. It accuses him of conspiring with former U.S. intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning to hack into a Pentagon computer in 2010. Assange published thousands of classified government documents on WikiLeaks. His attorney says they will fight the U.S. extradition request, but that they knew this day would come.
I've just been with Mr. Assange in the police cells. He wants to thank all of his supporters for their ongoing support, and he said, "I told you so."
Assange flashed a peace sign as he arrived at court, where the judge quickly found him guilty of skipping bail in 2012.
The judge blasted Assange, rejecting his excuse that he didn't get a fair hearing. He called him a narcissist who couldn't get beyond his own selfish interests.
After 7 years, Assange had worn out his welcome at the Ecuadorian embassy. The country's president described him as discourteous and aggressive. Lawmakers in Washington said Assange should be returned to the U.S. to face charges.
I'm glad the wheels of justice are finally turning. He will get a fair trial, but he deserves to go to trial.
An extradition hearing is scheduled for May 2nd, when Assange will appear in court by video from his prison cell. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
In 2017, Sweden dropped a long-running rape case against Assange. Now prosecutors say his accuser wants to reopen that investigation.
Well, the late rapper and community activist Nipsey Hussle is being laid to rest today. Thousands packed the Staples Center in Los Angeles to pay their respects. The LA musician was well known in the music industry, having just received his first Grammy nomination. His work focused on empowering his community, something he backed up in his personal life. Hussle recently purchased property in the South Los Angeles neighborhood where he grew up.
He made it believable for people like us, we could do the same thing, So that's what it was.
Gave hope.
Gave hope.
He is the model entertainer for what, black entertainment should be. He is definitely larger in death than he was in life, and everybody sees that now.
Hussle was a former gang member who preached unity and peace, but he was shot and killed in front of his clothing store 2 weeks ago, a death that shocked his fans and led to days of tributes.
Well, still to come tonight at 4. If you're of a certain age, you probably remember Midwest Express Airlines.
First-class luxury at coach prices. Well, good news, travelers. The best care in the air airlines may be returning. That story when Live at 4 continues. Well, the airline with the slogan, "The best care in the air," has taken another step to returning to the air.
Midwest Airlines announced today it has leased space for a new corporate headquarters at Mitchell Airport in Milwaukee. The airline began operations in 1984, based in Milwaukee. It eventually flew to dozens of U.S. cities until it became a victim of rising oil prices and the merging of airlines, and was purchased by Frontier in 2010. The new group of investors hopes to return the airline to its iconic status of leather seats in all classes and, of course, the fresh-baked chocolate chip cookies on every flight.
They baked them on the plane.
I know, it was wonderful.
You know, and you think of flying now.
Oh, I know.
It gives me a tear. Yeah, hopefully they'll get it together. Well, stocks were mixed on Wall Street ahead of the next batch of earnings reports. The Dow Industrials lost 14 points, closing at 26,143. The NASDAQ Composite Index gave up 16, but the S&P 500 managed a fractional gain. And it's almost the weekend in the 608.
Madison Magazine Associate Editor Joel Patnaud is with us again, while Emmy Fink is on maternity leave. Emmy had a baby boy last week, in case you didn't hear.
Hey, Joel.
Thanks for your help, Joel.
You talked to Emmy? She's doing well.
Yeah, she's staying close to the couch, if not
Good for her.
completely
Good for
on
her.
it.
Yes, we cannot wait to meet the
I'm
baby,
sure I'm
though.
supposed to share that.
Oh, she won't mind.
So what are we starting with this weekend? What's going on?
Well, there's kind of a collection of weirdly nostalgic and imaginative shows.
Okay.
And I thought I'd start with one that makes fun of a world that many of us actually live in or have close relatives that do. And that would be Red Green.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The title character of the Canadian TV comedy, The Red Green Show, is coming with his solo This Could Be It tour and his love of duct tape to the Overture Center. Red Green is the flannel and suspenders-wearing leader of the Possum Lodge Men's Club. He's got plenty of questionable advice for married men and just as ill-advised car repair ideas. I think I mentioned the duct tape.
Yeah, there you go.
But again, he'll be at the Overture Center tomorrow night.
He's pretty funny.
He really
It's a
is.
funny act.
Yeah.
All right, there's another show that'll take audiences back to an earlier time in popular music.
Exactly. And so my question to you both, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Beatles.
Yeah, Beatles.
Okay.
For me too.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's a wrong answer.
Yeah.
At least not tonight at the Barrymore, where this will be the Beatles versus Stones, a musical showdown. You owe it yourself to go tonight. It is two top-notch, note-for-note tribute bands, Abbey Road and Satisfaction. I'll leave it to you to figure out which is which. And they do this faux rivalry as they tour together, playing all of the hits. And if you go, you're sure to be thankful that the British invasion did come to our shores with both bands.
That sounds like a great
and
show.
the Stones are still touring.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they're on hold right now.
Indeed.
But
Yeah.
it's remarkable.
It is remarkable. Well, how about something for, hipsters like us?
I have a bad hip. Is that what you mean?
Perfect.
No.
Okay, yeah. And nothing says hipsters to me than vinyl records. It's Record Day on Saturday, and the album release show at the High Noon Saloon is by the Wisconsin Vinyl Collective. So this will be, I think, of great appeal to hipsters such as yourself. It'll open with the local Americana, roots, and folk rock bands Lost Lake, Bascom Hill, and Mascot Theory. And the headline is Michael Perry and the Longbecks. And yes, that's the Michael Perry, the best-selling author of Population 485 and Truck and other books. Apparently, it turns out he writes songs as well as his homespun stories on Saturday night. You can find out if he sings too.
I saw him at the Stoughton Opera House.
Yeah?
And I have no idea he sings as well.
He's been on this show.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's
I
great.
haven't heard.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. Yeah.
Okay, how about families with young children?
Yes, now this is probably the most wildly imaginative show in town this weekend. Bee Underwater Bubble Show. It's alternatively titled The Unexpected Journey of Mr. B in the Colorful Underwater World of Bubblelandia. Whatever you want to call it, Mr. B will take audiences into his lavish underwater realm inhabited by giant seahorses, mermaids, clownfish, inflatable balls, and of course lots of bubbles. Mr. B will have two shows at 3 and 6 p.m. on Sunday in Overture's Capitol Theater.
That looks
sounds
fascinating.
really good, yeah.
Well, huge variety as usual.
It is.
All right,
It is.
Joel,
That's
thank
Madison.
you. Yep, and get this month's Madison Magazine for all the best in the Madison area, and we'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Well, take a look at this. A man took his pet camel for a stroll inside a PetSmart store in Michigan over the weekend. No, it wasn't hump day. The camel named Jeffrey lives at the Lewis Farms and Petting Zoo, and the owner of the farm needed to know exactly how much Jeffrey weighs in order to give him accurate dosages of his annual medications and vaccines. PetSmart's pet policy has a list of animals owners can bring into the store. Camels are not one of them, but there was no need to camouflage Jeffrey.
Oh my goodness.
The store's owner made an exception, and they eventually got Jeffrey to a scale. He tipped the scales at exactly 1,400 pounds.
What a fun day for the people in the store. You don't see that every day.
It's not a wild animal.
Oh, they're very cool.
Yeah. And speaking of pets, it is National Pet Day, regardless of the species.
We got 2 dogs and 2 cats.
Yeah.
This is my Kit. We could just call her Kit.
She's got a little white on her.
Yeah, she's got a little white bib.
Love the eyes. They're so cute.
Oh, and there's those 2 idiots.
Who are those?
The 2 hounds, Esty and Lola.
They look good.
And then I believe here comes Hans, and Hans is laying on my wife's baby bump. Excited to meet his baby brother in a couple weeks.
That is such a precious picture.
I know. Oh, it's so cute.
You know, animals have a sense about things.
They also have a sense about the weather, too.
Yeah, Lola didn't want to go outside today.
Hans didn't tell me that this was going to happen, so sorry, folks, if the forecast
Oh, it's
is
raining
a little
again?
bit off. Yep, we got still a little bit of everything to deal with, and the wind, while it will calm down tonight, will be back with us tomorrow. Your full first alert forecast coming up right after this. Good afternoon. I hope you had a really nice Thursday so far. Up until Thursday morning, some of us were still seeing that snow come down along with some sleet and rain over the past 24 hours or so. So by the time we got to this morning, about 1 to 3 inches of snow locally, mainly on those grassy surfaces, which was good news. But in some spots north of Madison, really we didn't see much of a changeover today, with temperatures remaining close to the freezing mark. Could be worse though. Dupree, South Dakota, 1.5 feet of snow from this wacky interseasonal weather system that continues to move to the north. Here's what it looks like on satellite. You can just see how massive this thing is. Center of the low pressure close to Sioux Falls right now, with some fronts a little bit closer to us. And just how powerful are those fronts? Well, it's 36 degrees right now in Madison, 55 in Chicago, and just about 350 miles to the south and east, Indianapolis, near 80 degrees right now. Sometimes forecasting the weather a little bit challenging, to say the least. So on Doppler track, we still do see a lot of snow north of us and across portions of central and southern Wisconsin. Still a mixed bag of precipitation, with some sleet mixing in with the rain showers closer to the Dells and across Sauk and Columbia counties. Some downpours and maybe even some rumbles of thunder and rain showers farther south. The good news is, because the warm front never quite made it to southern Wisconsin, I do think the severe weather threat has shifted south for this evening. Now, we still could get a strong thunderstorm or two, some gusty winds, some small hail, like some of us saw this morning. But I really think, because of the fact that temperatures aren't all that warm, that severe weather threat is a little bit farther to the south, which is always good news. So we did actually get some reports of hail along with the sleet this morning across Dane County. Actually, hail up to the size of 1 inch closer to Monona. This picture comes from Jenny on Madison's east side. You can see some hailstones mixing in with whatever was falling from the sky earlier this morning. Thank you so much for that photo. Because of the threat of severe weather today, it is Severe Weather Awareness Week across Wisconsin. The statewide tornado drill has been moved to tomorrow. So keep in mind, tomorrow the test tornado watch, first one, will come out at 1 p.m. Then our test tornado warning at 1:45. Then the test will end at 2. Our second test tornado warning will occur at 6:45. If you want to learn more about severe weather, it's good timing. Dark Skies at Madison College is this Saturday from 8:30 to 4. Lots of great guest speakers and severe weather safety talks ahead, completely free at Madison College. Come see the team as well. All of that to look forward to. And we're looking forward to the end of this crazy weather. But right now, we still have temperatures in the mid-30s, about 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. And with the wind today gusting between 40 and about 50 miles per hour across southern Wisconsin, it's felt like the 20s for much of today. Really easy on our wind speed map to see where that low pressure system is. It is where all the winds kind of spiral out a little bit farther west of us. We've been dealing with these strong easterly winds today, gusting from 30 to 40 miles per hour this afternoon. And for the next couple of hours, we still could see some pretty strong gusts of about 35 to 45 miles per hour at times. So keep that in mind. We'll see some additional thunderstorm activity. Some could be on the strong side later on tonight into the early evening hours. By the time we get to tomorrow, I do think we'll calm down in precipitation world. However, the wind will be once again pretty gusty, 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts possible on Friday, with temperatures in the low to mid 40s. We could be talking about another half an inch of rain over the next couple of hours, depending on where those heaviest downpours set up. And then on future track, as far as winds go, will calm down tonight, but they'll be right back at it tomorrow. Gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour, not out of the question. So we'll get there. We'll get to the calmer weather, but sometimes it seems pretty far away, that is for sure. But on the 10-day forecast, we can see some nicer weather on the way for Saturday, with highs in the upper 40s. Then as we head into Sunday, chance of some more rain and snow showers, with highs only in the 30s. Monday looking nice, and plenty more opportunities for some of those famous April rain showers as we head into the middle of next week.
No big warm-up.
No big warm-up. We're really not seeing that. We're seeing maybe some indications by the end of this month, but that's pretty much to be expected.
Right? Yeah.
I think it did everything this morning.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Mother Nature, fitting all of that into
Congratulations.
Getting all the errands done.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Up next at 4, it's being called a national crisis. We're talking about the shortage of school nurses.
We'll find out what's being done to tackle the problem when Live at 4 continues. There's a live look downtown, gray and chilly on this Thursday
It's
afternoon.
February.
It does feel like that outside. But hang on, everybody, it'll get better. Some are calling it a growing national crisis, the shortage of school nurses.
Only 3 out of 5 schools across the country have full-time school nurses. This often forces school administrators with no medical training to step in and provide some level of care. Hillary Lane reports.
Did the school district fail your child?
Yeah, they failed him always. Like, they weren't there to help him.
Last October, Rasheen Presley's 9-year-old son, Hassan, collapsed in the school cafeteria. He was rushed to the hospital where he was later pronounced dead of heart failure.
That was my only son. I want nobody there to help me. Nothing.
There was no school nurse on duty that day. According to a Philadelphia school district official, staff certified in CPR tried to revive Hassan, who'd been born with a heart defect. It's unknown had a school nurse been there that day if they would have been able to save Rasheen's son.
Did Miss Millie talk to you before?
There are no federal laws regulating school nurse staffing, but the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends at least one registered nurse in every school, a standard many districts are failing to meet.
That is a crisis.
Donna Mazik, the executive director of the National Association of School Nurses, says 40% of schools across the country don't have a full-time nurse, and 25% don't have a nurse at all.
It's not acceptable. Students deserve what they need in order to be in school and ready to learn.
So now time for school number 2.
Yes, we'll go to Bushy Park, my elementary school.
Deanie Gorby-Crease is a school nurse in Howard County, Maryland, who covers 2 schools a day. She has health assistants at each school who call her with questions when she's not in the building.
If I'm busy with an emergency at my other school, I'm not available right away, so it might delay their care some.
Look at my nose. In Cincinnati, Ohio, where nurses were also sometimes covering more than one school, they're tackling the problem through a partnership with Cincinnati Children's Hospital.
We now are able to provide routine primary care services for all of the students in the building as well as any child in the community.
They've opened health centers in schools to close the gap.
So students get services here no different than they do in a pediatrician's office.
In the wake of his son's death, Rasheen Presley says schools must find a way to provide care for all students.
If you ain't got no nurses at the school, you might as well teach your kids at home. That's just common sense.
Hillary Lane, CBS News.
Big problem.
It is a big problem. Growing field for men, too,
Absolutely.
nursing. Very much more important.
Well, there's more at 4 with the presidential race starting to heat up. Which candidates are on the top of the list, and how is President Trump doing in Wisconsin?
We'll have the latest Marquette Law School poll numbers. There's Charles. He's the director of the poll, and we'll go through the numbers in the latest survey when we come back.
Good afternoon. Here is your first alert traffic update. The Beltline and Gammon Road, a little bit slow go eastbound right now, but nothing too major. As you might expect, the normal delays for this time of day on the Beltline. No major accidents or incidents to report. Average speeds on the Beltline around 25 to 30 miles per hour, and closer to Verona Road, not looking too bad. And on Stoughton Road, similar story as well. So here are your drive times. John Nolan westbound to Verona Road, that's 9 minutes, a little bit tardy. Average speed of around 30 miles per hour. Some other routes in and around Madison. The Beltline southbound to Janesville on the interstate, that'll cost you 26 minutes, so moving pretty smoothly. Average speed of around 70 miles per hour. And that's your first alert traffic update.
All right, Dave, thank you. Ouch. Brad O'Neill's knocked unconscious after this terrible crash in Arizona. He's taken to the hospital. 2 compression fractures in the spine, a severe concussion, and damage to his shoulder blade. Doctors tell him to take it easy, let it heal. Well, naturally, Brad gets right back on his bike a few days later and manages to pull off an incredible jump in some sand dunes in California. This time, he and his bike float to a soft landing.
Oh, that's a better idea. Yeah, much better idea.
Well, the latest Marquette Law School poll released yesterday.
800 registered voters were surveyed in the latest poll, which looked at several issues, including Governor Evers' first 3 months in office and the 2020 presidential race. The director of the poll, Charles Franklin, is here to break down the numbers. Good to see you, Charles.
Good to be here.
So let's start with Governor Evers' approval. What did the poll show?
He's above water. 47% approve, 37 disapprove. 15 say they don't know. But that's interesting because in January, a week after he'd taken office, 38% said they don't know. So people gave him a little bit of time. They're beginning to make up their minds. But he'll still take a while and go down below 10% don't know. Right now, plus 10 is okay for him at this stage.
And one of his more controversial proposals is raising the gas tax.
And that's been a hard sell for years. It's not just now. 57% oppose an increase in the gas tax. A minority, 30-something percent. I don't remember, 39%. Thank you. You know my
numbers. I got it right here.
There you go. I appreciate it. Would go ahead and add the revenue to spend for roads. But we've asked that question several times over the last year and a half, and it's always been a little underwater. It had tightened a bit in January, but now it's widened. Opposition was even higher a year ago, so it's in that range. But this is an issue where we've asked other versions of how to pay for roads over the years. People don't think the roads are in great shape. They'd like something done about it, but when we ask how to pay for it, people are really reluctant to go there. The governor is talking about what to do and why it's needed, but there's a persuasion job to be done here.
And we asked Governor Evers about his reaction to the results of the gas tax question. Take a listen.
I understand the reticence around raising taxes. We're trying to modify that as much as we can with a minimum markup, but the bottom line, we know we can't borrow our way out of this problem.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
Somebody has to pay for it, and he's exactly right. People agree that borrowing is a bad solution, but they just don't like any of the other options.
They don't want taxes going up. What about, you asked a question about legalizing marijuana.
Here, we've seen a real trend over the last 5 or 6 years. 59% support legalization without any qualification, but for medical marijuana, it's 83% support, and that crosses party lines completely. This is an issue where public opinion has been shifting. I think legislators and elected officials have been a little more reluctant to get ahead of public opinion, but public opinion has really moved, and the medical case is just overwhelming.
83% to 12%, that is. All right, let's switch to the presidential race, Democrats.
Here we're asking for each of the 12 candidates we asked about, would this person be a top choice for you, an acceptable choice, someone you couldn't support, or haven't you heard enough about them?
And it's a big field.
It's a big field, and it's just getting bigger. Even with 12, we didn't ask about everybody. Sanders in first place at 32 here is up 9 points from January. Biden at 29 is down 3 from January. He hadn't declared yet. And Warren is a little ways back in third place. Once we get past Warren, Harris and O'Rourke, you can see are in 10 and 11, but then you're in single digits for everybody else. Also, this order tracks with how many people don't recognize the name or don't know enough yet. Really, we're in the first inning of this ball game. We got a lot of baseball to play before we get to our primary, but we want to see how this develops, and watching the first inning is good to see how the game goes.
And Bernie Sanders has a rally tomorrow at James Madison Park at 5 o'clock.
Wisconsin is going to be very important.
It is. I got a call from a Vermont reporter yesterday because they're coming to follow that rally here.
And this is going to change dramatically.
I think so. What we've seen...
Maybe not at the top, but I mean...
No, what we've seen with big fields in previous years, mostly on the Republican side, is somebody catches fire and zooms up, but then they get scrutinized, and usually they've fallen off after that. Any of this field could catch fire like that and move up. The question is always, can they sustain the momentum and stay in the top of the ranks going into the April primary?
And you also asked people if they would vote for President Trump in 2020.
Here, there's a lot of negativity about that. It's about 28% definitely, but 40% definitely won't vote for him. That reflects that Democrats are almost 100%, at least 95%, definitely not. But Republicans are a bit divided. There are people who strongly approve of the job the president's doing, and those folks are going 95% for him. But almost half as many, as a good chunk, are only somewhat approving, and only 25% of them are definite, 50% are maybes. So those folks may be won back to him as we get into the campaign, and that'll tighten the race. But right now, there's indecision among his supporters and united opposition on the other side.
Only, what, 500 and some days to go?
Oh, if only we could count.
Interesting numbers as usual. Yeah. A new poll coming out sometime in the future.
Sometime. We're going to take a little bit of a break over the summer, but we'll be ready to rock and roll in the fall.
Things will be a lot different at that point,
yes.
I would assume. Charles, thank you.
Great to see you, Charles.
Okay,
Thanks for coming.
We'll have a final check of your forecast coming up. Rain, rain, go away.
Yeah, we have a couple of rounds of rain, maybe even some thunderstorms on the way for later tonight. The wind will gradually diminish as we head into tonight, which is good news, but we'll still keep a few eyes to the sky just in case we do get a stronger thunderstorm. Temperatures are still in the mid-30s in Madison. That's where we've been all day. So yes, our high temperatures didn't make it to the 40s just yet, but our severe weather threat has gone down because of that. So at least that's good news. 45 degrees in Janesville tonight. Some thunderstorms possible with those diminishing winds, temps staying in the 30s.
All right. As we said earlier, we lucked out on this.
Yes.
Really
really
We saw that
did.
video from South Dakota. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Thanks,
All
Dave.
right, Dave. Tomorrow here on Live at 4, go ahead, Susan.
After 50 years, UW band director Mike Leckrone is getting ready to retire. We'll take a look back at his remarkable career.
And Lola and Louie have the best animal stories of the week on their News Hounds Now update.
In today's Final Touch, police in Washington County, Oregon were responding to a report of a burglary suspect still in the home.
The frightened homeowner feared for her life. The woman told police someone was in her bathroom. She told the 911 operator she could see shadows moving under the door. Deputies soon surrounded the home and finally went in with guns drawn. And that's when they discovered the culprit. It's a vacuum.